Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is Katrina Reads. So I want to talk about 4 books that I read for Christmas. I had an absolutely amazing time doing this, and I think I'll try to do this every year. I normally read one good book and toss around looking for the next good book forever, but it was like knocking it out of the park, one after another after another. The first book I read was In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. Lots of people have been talking about it. I was very excited to see that it was on Scribd. All right, so this is the book description from Goodreads. It's the most wonderful time of the year, but not for Malin Jones. She's living with her parents, hates her going nowhere job, and has made a romantic error of epic proportions. But perhaps worst of all, this is the last Christmas May will be at her favorite place in the world, the snowy Utah cabin where she and her family have spent every holiday since she was born, along with 2 other beloved families. Mentally melting down as she drives away from the cabin for a final time, May throws out what she thinks is a simple plea to the universe. Please show me what will make me happy. The next thing she knows, tires screech, metal collides, everything goes black. But when May gasps awake, she's on an airplane bound for Utah, where she begins the same holiday all over again. With one hilarious disaster after another sending her back to the plane, May must figure out how to break free from a strange time loop and finally get her true love under the mistletoe. This book, I give it 5 stars. I smiled the whole way through. The only thing I have to say is that, I like the Groundhog Day aspect of movies and books and things like that. And this didn't have as many as I thought it would. I think it only had like 2. And so I would have rather seen a little bit more of some hijinks in that area. I am going to insert a TikTok that I made as I was falling in love with the character that May was falling in love with here.
I slowly started to be seduced by him, like he started to seduce me.
Kind of man that she was falling in love with is my type. The curly haired, floppy haired guy. He was sweet. I had a dream for a long time that a longtime friend of mine, that we would buy a vacation home and share it together. I've had that dream for a long time, and that's something that showed up in this. It's family, it's close family, it's found family as well, because they do have the close other families. There's young kids doing little silly things. There's loving older family members. It's funny. It's just Christmassy enough. It's warm. I loved this book, and I suggest it for anyone who loves Christmas, anyone who's feeling sad this Christmas. 2020 has been the worst. This is a perfect warm pick me up. There was lots of little traditions that they had that you can, indulge in. May was in love with Andrew. There's 2 brothers, Theo and Andrew, and she's best friends with both of them, but she's in love with Andrew. And there's lots of longing. I don't know. Christina Lauren just knew how to write longing and passion, and she just knew how to write it well. And I don't know what the formula is, because I've read other romance books, and even romance books that I've enjoyed in this video they don't have this magic. I don't know how to explain it, but there's this magic, and this beauty seems to be too big of a word, but it's a genuine longing that May has for Andrew, and it comes across, and it's so sweet, and it's so perfect. They make love a couple times. It's not smutty. There are sex scenes, but it's passionate. I smiled this whole book. 5 stars. I loved it. The next book I read was a novella. It's from Jodi Taylor, and it's from her Chronicles of St. Mary's series. She's lots of books in this series. It's a lovely series. Listen to it on audio. Zara Ram is a wonderful narrator who gets the completely sarcastic humor and the deep well of tragedy and love and friendship that is also going on in this story. The stories, the overall basis of the story is that either in the near future or in a multiverse of ours, these people have figured out time travel. They travel back to major events in history, and they just observe. And there's all kinds of hijinks that ensue. Lots of things go wrong. She's not afraid of killing people. It's interesting. So it's not just a humor book or anything like that, but there's lots of adventure, humor, science fiction. There's difficult decisions to make. There's love. There's heartbreak. But like I said, Zara Ram, the narrator, she is awesome with the sarcasm of the main character. In this novella, it's called When a Child is Born. So you think, oh, it's Christmas, they're gonna accidentally go back to when Jesus was born. So let's read this. Okay, so it's Christmas Day, 1066, and a team from St. Mary's is going to witness the coronation of William the Conqueror, or so they think. However, history, capital H, seems to have different plans for them, and when Max finds herself delivering a child in a peasant's hut, she can't help but wonder what history is up to. And so, of course, there's all these allusions to Christ's birth. They're going to see William the Conqueror's coronation, but they come across this woodsman who is deathly wounded. So they can't, and then they realize that he has a family, and the wife is in labor, and there's another child there, and their fire is about to go out, and they're going to die if they don't help them. And although they're not supposed to intervene in history, they just, humanity just can't let them leave this family in dire straits like this. So they take the guy back to his hut. They heal him. Max delivers the baby. They find there's another child. They're watching the whole thing. They give them food. They get some firewood in because fire, it has to continually be going, whether it's summer or winter, where a family dies, because it's the food source, it's the heating source, it's the light source. So it doesn't, obviously, it's 1066, so it's obviously not a story about Jesus. When she comes back and she gives her debrief to her boss, he makes a little cheeky remark as if, you can't tell that it seemed like that kind of story. You came with gifts, because they give them lots of their packaged food and things like that. You delivered a child. You had to bring in the livestock for extra warmth and all this stuff. So he cheekily said that, but it actually comes out to being that the little girl that was there ended up being the great grandparent of the person who started England's parliament system. And so Max realizes that she made the mistake that most historians make in overlooking women in history and their importance. And so, but it was still Christmassy. It still was kind of cheeky. I got to visit St. Mary's again, which is a wonderful group of people, and it's a wonderful story. Max is wonderful. And so that was sweet. And I didn't realize I've already read that story. So that was a reread. I gave it a 4-star. My thing would be read the whole series. Yes, this is a wonderful Christmas story, but if you are someone who is aware of the whole the Chronicles of St. Mary's, this is a great reread for Christmas. But this is more a plead to read the entire Chronicles of St. Mary's by Jodi Taylor and possibly listen to it by audio because the audio narrator is excellent. The next book I read was called 8 Winter Nights. Actually ended up being a Hanukkah book, a Hanukkah love story by Liz Maverick. I love this as well. The narrators were wonderful. I love that Goodreads is now listing the narrators as well. So the 8 Winter Nights is by Liz Maverick, and Eva Kaminsky and Jason Clark narrated. The book description is: last year, Rachel Bacharach met the man of her dreams at a Hanukkah party, and then her outgoing best friend Tamara swooped in and called Oz Kaplan for herself. It's a typical outcome for the dependable, bookish Rachel, who is never able to extinguish the spark she immediately felt for Oz. But being secretly in love with her best friend's boyfriend all year hasn't been easy. As this year party approaches, Oz and Tamara break up. It's a worst-case scenario when Oz asks Rachel to help him write Tamara love letters to win her back in time for her Hanukkah anniversary. Rachel's been writing love letters to Oz in her journals for a year. She knows all the words he would need, but will Rachel be able to hide her true feelings from Oz any longer? And might this year's party finally be Rachel's chance to trust her heart and put everything on the line for love? So this book was super unrealistic, but it was wonderful anyway. The dynamic between the best friends was quite realistic. There's a lot of times that there's a really outgoing friend and a bookish friend, and or a shy friend, or a shrinking violet type of friend, and she pulls back and lets the more outgoing friend take the place. Because Rachel saw, and was talking to Oz first at the original party, and she just kind of let Tamara take over. And so then Oz broke his foot, and Tamara asked Rachel to take care of him, and while she was gone to Bali. So I think it's really unrealistic that adults would be, I don't know, Cyrano de Bergerac-ing, trying to get somebody back together. I don't think that happens. But it was fun to read. It was sweet to kind of, and it was the anticipation of them figuring out that they loved each other. You got to see inside both their heads, and so it was nice to see the guy start realizing that he loved her. Rachel, the original friend, the friend who's loved him the whole year. The only reason why I gave it 4 stars rather than 5 is because I felt a little bit of a way about Oz realizing that Rachel, I don't know, I felt like Rachel deserved a little bit more consideration. I felt like, but people are stupid. People are dumb. People don't always see what's right in front of them. And it's obvious that Rachel, and he even realizes that. He even comes up like, Rachel is always there for me, or she's better for me, or, Tamara wouldn't have done this for me, or Tamara, I think is what they call it. Tamara wouldn't have done this for me, or, things like that. So, it's a short book. It's a novel. It's a novella. It's short. I also liked the other holiday. We don't just have Christmas, here. We have Christmas, we have Kwanzaa, we have Hanukkah. I don't know. I mean, I think there's probably other ones that I'm not even knowledgeable of. And they thought about the fact that when they grew up, they didn't have Christmas trees, and they talked a little bit about just the other side of it. And I thought that was cool to get a tiny little bit of a culture lesson, especially from a culture that we probably should know a little bit more about. It's not like some tiny little, culture that's kind of got an enclave in one part of our country. Jewish people are everywhere, and to not know about their holiday season is odd. So that was nice to see as well, and to have it just be just as warm and fuzzy and cozy, and have a smile on my face as I listen to the story just as much as any other holiday story, warranted a 4 star. The book description is as follows. When Holly White's fiance cancels their Christmas Eve wedding with less than 2 weeks to go, Holly heads home with a broken heart. Lucky for her, home in historic Mistletoe, Maine is magical during Christmas time, exactly what the doctor prescribed. Except her plan to drown her troubles in peppermints and snickerdoodles is upended when local grouch and president of the Mistletoe Historical Society, Margaret Fenwick, is bludgeoned and left in the sleigh display at Reindeer Games, Holly's family tree farm. When the murder weapon is revealed as one of the wooden stakes used to identify trees on the farm, Sheriff Evan Gray turns to Holly's father, Bud, and the Reindeer Game staff. And it doesn't help that Bud and the reindeer keeper are each seen arguing with Margaret just before her death. But Holly knows her father and is determined to exonerate him. So I gave this book 3 stars. First of all, it's a perfect book for a pandemic Christmas because you got to go, first of all, Mistletoe, Maine, that's a wonderful name. It just hit me as I was reading the description that her name was Holly. The tree farm is called Reindeer Games, and they also have these games. They have the whole town come out and do all of these Christmas type, winter type games. The inside of it's a Christmas tree farm, but also inside is a little coffee shop, candy shop place, and everything's shaped, all the chairs and everything is shaped like candy and gingerbread and things like that. The description of the tea and the coffees are wonderful. And even as Holly goes throughout the rest of the town, questioning people about their interactions with Margaret before she died, she is taking you along shopping, basically, because she feels like she can't question people without spending money. She feels like she'll get more from them if she spends money. So she goes to other coffee shops, and they have these wonderful sounding cookies and coffees, and candy shops and gift shops with these really wonderful gifts, and candle shops. And she describes the smells of the candles, and the stretch of the town is decorated for Christmas. And even, a lot of us really can't do that. We can't travel to somewhere wonderful like that. And taking sleigh rides, she starts to obviously, even though it's a mystery, a murder mystery, she's also falling for the sheriff. And there's lots of little biddies that kind of get involved and arrange for the sheriff and her to be alone sometimes. And so she takes a sleigh ride with the sheriff, and they have, there's a cat, and she warms up by the fire with, she takes Margaret's cat in for a while. And so she has both cats on her while in front of the fire. There's a little old lady who helps out sometimes and kind of just gossips and talks, and she likes peppermint schnapps in her tea and stuff like that. And they play bingo with peppermints instead of like bingo chips. Now, the reason why it only got 3 stars for me is because, first of all, it was extraordinarily long. It did not need to be as long as it was. And I actually kept looking, like, I have how many hours left? At one point, I had 4 more hours left to listen to it. I listen on 1.5 speed. So I was just like, do I need to up this to 2? But I was enjoying the story enough, but it just dragged on in places, and it didn't need to be that long. And the title was misleading. I thought there'd be more murders. There was only 1 murder. So I don't understand why the title was 12 Sleighs. So So I thought, that was interesting to me. But mainly, I knocked off the 2 stars because of the length. It was way too long. I was about to take off more credit from the book because this book went the opposite of insta love. There was little hints that they were going to fall in love, and then it ended with a kiss from them. But Sheriff Gray had to keep ensuring her that she wasn't going crazy, that it was normal for her to be afraid because they were being targeted because she kept looking. And so the person who did it kept saying, stop looking or else, and vandalizing the farm and things like that. So she was afraid. She had PTSD from seeing a dead body. She felt guilt. She felt a little nervous because there had not been a murder in that town in 40 years. And so the people she grew up with, she's looking around at everybody and thinking, one of these people are the murderer. So yeah, I guess somebody wouldn't be in the mood for falling in love. So that makes sense. With the beginning of it actually wasn't just the beginning. Throughout, you kept getting descriptions of a wonderful Christmas town. I want to visit Mistletoe, Maine. And there was even a Christmas ball at the end where they decorated and dressed up in costumes. It was just lovely to think about and to imagine. So although it was too long, it was still worth the read. And I absolutely enjoyed reading these 4 Christmas books. And I suggest that you get them too. So that's the end of this book talk. And if I don't see you before the new year, happy holidays. I hope that it's full of family and food and friends and warmth of spirit, if not actual fireplaces and cocoa and coffee and all of that jazz. So I will see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.